Hello everybody and welcome to another knockoff review. Today, thanks to the guys over at TF Direct, I'm going to be taking a look at the G1 coloured version of Reximus Prime. This is of course the KO oversized version of Masterpiece Grimlock. Now, no real difference in the name, so if you are searching for this bot, he just comes up as Reximus Prime, but obviously the main difference is the packaging. You can clearly see that the Dinobot Grimlock on this side here is the plain coloration, and the one on this side is the Marvel Comics. Now, that being said, unfortunately this isn't the colour Grimlock comes out. Once you get him out of the box, it's very different. See, out of the packaging, he does still have that metallic-y shine to his arms and his body. That's not going to cut it for some people, but I personally like how it looks. See, I personally think this would look really good with the Fans Toys T04X, their kind of silver version of Scoria. I think those look really good together. Here he is with his Marvel Comics comrade. They do look quite substantially different when out of the packaging. I think the silver used in both is pretty much identical, but because you've got such a high intensity of chromed, kind of a gold chrome used with the Marvel Comics version, it really does make the silver seem a lot lighter than what it does on the more G1 accurate Grimlock. Obviously, you come down to the sections around the legs, they're a lot more smoked on the Marvel Comics version, and we do have the yellow toes. They're not present at all on the animation version. And this red here, this red is pretty much identical on the waist, but of course we have this really bright red crotch section visible on Marvel, which is of course not visible on G1. The gold is a much more subtle gold as well. It's a very underwhelming. No, underwhelming is the wrong word. It's definitely more G1 accurate, and it just doesn't. It's not as bold as what we got with Marvel. Now, of course, we do still get a crown with Mr. Grimlock. It is the single crown. We don't get two crowns, and we don't get the alternative head that we got with the Marvel. But we do still get his sword and his gun, and he does, of course, still feature his light-up features. Here's a quick scale comparison for some of you scale junkies out there. I personally feel that that's a pretty darn good scale. Not how I have it in my collection, though. I have him scaled up alongside the metallic version of Gutter. Now, although the greys and silver paints that have been used are very, very different indeed, I still think that's a fantastically good looking combination. And they tower over Prime. They're a good shoulder kind of, yeah, it's a good couple of inches taller than Prime. And I think that's pretty good. You know, they were big, big dinos. They were that sort of size in the animation. Now let's just take a closer look at the detailing. It is literally just a oversized version of the official release. So we get all the same articulation, all the same detailing, just a lot bigger. The Autobot logo on mine doesn't quite push up to the top. There's a fractional, kind of like a millimeter at the top there. It doesn't quite go up, but it's still clearly visible. We do still have the ability to switch and change the visor just by pulling that lever on the back of the head. We can swap the visor out for the red one, and as previously mentioned, we do still have a button on the back of the arm which allows us to light up the sword or gun, whichever we choose to place in that hand. Now, I'm actually very happy I decided to go ahead with this purchase. I pre-ordered it, and when they announced that it wasn't going to be the bland grey, I was kind of like, oh, I really wanted an oversized G1 version, but having him in hand, I'm really, really glad. I mean, you think about it, The bland, unpainted grey plastic that we got with the official release was something that I really didn't like about it. They hadn't made as much of an effort as they should have done. Okay, yes, it's an older toy now, and generally we do get some good paint apps, or at least really nicely coloured moulds, but it was something that was missing and kind of lackluster from the original release, and I'm glad they went with this silver, because in hand it really does look glorious, and it really does set off the chrome and the red around the waist. Now, articulation-wise, the head does rotate fully. We can go up. I have no idea who he will look up to, maybe Devastator possibly, and down. The shoulders are on big chunky balls. They can go up and round and in and out. They are very, very stiff. We do have an upper bicep rotation. There is rotation on this wrist, and the fingers do open and the thumb moves. This fist, however, does not rotate. It's in a locked position due to the light up gimmick. But we do have a movable thumb. We do have a bend at 2 points of the elbow, just a matter of maneuvering it around so we can get over that 90 degrees. We have a waist rotation. The thighs can come this far forwards. They look like they could be a little bit tighter, because I can see those getting a little bit looser after some time. They are just a friction joint. They can go this far out, again just a friction joint, so they're going to become a little bit looser over time. We can rotate in the thigh joint. We do have a nice bend at the knee. Feet can go forwards and backwards. We can kind of pivot them a little bit. There's not as much range in there as the sort of things we get from Gigapower and Fans Toys, but this is of course based on that older mould. And for those of you that were questioning the location of the wings at the back there, yes, they are still on a hinge. You can move them up and down, and they also come inwards and outwards, so you can locate them as you see fit. Now, we all know that Grimlock is, of course, king of the Dinobots, and as far as knockoff companies go, they really have done this mould justice. The joints are definitely tight enough. There is some concerns about those thighs. They may need to be tightened at some point. It's a problem with the original mould, and that should carry it on over to the knockoff. The arms are really good. They are super tight. The actual plastic quality is easily on par with the likes of Hasbro or Takara, maybe even greater than those. The chrome is very nice. The paint applications themselves are very even, very clean, very crisp. No smearing, no smudges at all. He does look glorious. Now, the transformation is exactly the same as the official version, but being as big as he is, it does make it just that little bit more difficult to capture on camera. The first port of action is to open up the arms, make sure the thumb is tucked down nice and cleanly, and then just rotate the hands back into the arms so this section is facing forwards. Close this section off, that's going to click into place, and then we want to raise his hands up into the air like he just doesn't care. Then grabbing this section here and this waist section, you want to pull down on the waist, and that's going to untab this section here. Basically this tabs in on the underside of the torso, and you want to just pull that down like so. Now we're going to move on to the legs. Right, with Grimlock laying down, because it's just that little bit easier for me, you want to rotate the leg around first. That just rotates at the upper thigh. Now we have this entire leg section here. You want to just move this foot section down and around out of the way. This whole section here is kind of spring-loaded, so that's going to flip up and around. As you can see, there's a hinge just in here. We want to rotate this leg all the way around on this hinge, and as we rotate that round, this joint's just going to lock down, and that's going to slide all the way inside the leg section. We can then straighten these sections out, pull these down, and as you can see, we then got the tail tips. We can just pull those together. Just need to make sure that Grimlock's thighs are pointing inwards. That then allows us enough room to grab these tail sections and push them both together. We can now bring this entire torso section out and around. That's automatically going to bring those arms down, and that's going to sit nicely just at the base there. You want to come around to these top sections, and basically they're going to come forwards, and wrap around, and there is various points like here and here where it's all going to tab and lock into place. It's just a matter of lining everything up like so, and then just before we close off the top there, you can bring Grimlock's head up and over, locating that at the neck, and then close these sections all off. And here he is, all transformed up. He does look glorious, doesn't he? That's a fantastic representation of Grimlock. I know some of the other third-party companies have given us our Grimlocks, and as much as I love like the ones from G Creations, I just can't help but think this is really, really great version of Grimlock. Considering how old the mold is now, they've done a bloody good job first time round, didn't they? The head does still rotate. I cannot for the life of me get any features to work where it rotates the tail. I don't know whether they've removed it, possibly. It's just because I've got a lot of motion there and nothing springing that back. That is a good thing in my book. Teeth are still super sharp. We do still have a little gun on the inside of the mouth there. You also still have the option to switch the eyes around to blue just by rotating it on the inside here. I like the red though. I think the reds are very, very pronounced and very vibrant. The hands, we've got chromed claws, which can go up and down. We do have a rotation at the elbow, a bend at the elbow, and a ball-jointed shoulder. The legs, of course, are made up from the Grimlock's arms, so we can go forwards, back, we do come outwards, and inwards we do have a rotation, and we do have a fairly nice bend there. We also have up and down on the heel and front of the foot. The tail does swish a little bit left and right. Like I said, there is no gimmick in there now, I don't believe, so look at that. Just love the levels of detailing on Grimlock. He is a glorious figure. Masterpiece scale-wise, I think he scales remarkably well in his Dino mode. I love having my Ollie up there riding along. Tad taller than Prime, again, I think that's pretty good. And of course, Wheeljack, just looking up his creation there, towers over him. And here he is with his Hasbro counterpart, just a little bit bigger. The deco on these guys are pretty much identical. Obviously, you do have the difference in the grey plastics, but we do still have a big Autobot logo on there. We do still have the red trim along the side there. So they've kept it pretty much on par and spot on. I'm genuinely extremely happy. Really, really am. So glad I got this, and to be honest with you, I'm going to be keeping my Marvel Comics one as well, because I'm going to stick his aggressive head on him, I'm going to stick his aggressive crown, and yeah, I'm going to have him on his own little shelf. I think I'm going to be getting rid of the Hasbro Grimlock now, though. He doesn't really fit in with any of my collection. He is too small. Although Fans Toys gave us a little set of platform shoes for him, it doesn't really cut it in my book, because I love displaying him in his Dino mode. Nothing really affects that Dino mode height, unfortunately. But hey, that's where the KO company have come to my rescue and produced this glorious beast. Thanks again to the guys over at TF Direct for making this review possible. If you do like this figure, then feel free to click through to the link below in the description, which takes you through to TF Direct's page for this guy. And until next time, from myself and Reximus Prime, the Dinobot Commander MP 2.0, goodbye.